Nykaa IPO was around the corner in Q3 21. And, there was big buzz around it. First tech platform, making it big, somewhere around $7 billion valuation. Then, like a typical retail investor, I applied for its IPO, didn't get it. And then I saw it was like 80% listing gain. So within one night, people who were lucky enough to get that IPO, they were like 80%, sitting on 80% more, profits. Then I dig deeper. I realized I came across this news. Alia Bhatt and Katrina Kaif, they just got 10x returns within a couple of months. So Alia invested around 4.6 crore in July 21. And by the time the IPO came around Q3 21, that 5 crore amount was around 54 crore. So 10x return in just 3-4 months. So I was like, I had to get into this. By the time the IPO comes and by the time retail investors like us invest in stock market, the upside is already captured by some privileged people. So I wanted to get into that circle, that how, or basically I was looking a way to access or democratize, get into the circle via some democratization. So I reached out to people on LinkedIn, cold emailed hundreds of founders, because I didn't know at all about startup ecosystem, because I'm professional coming from software industry, no idea about how these things operate. So just randomly I tried messaging founders. Some of them replied also. For example, like R&D Money was an app back in 2021 I was using, and I was actually promoting it, creating accounts for my parents, for my friends, suggesting that, hey, why don't you start investing in US stock market via this? Then I realized, if I love this product so much, why can't I invest in it? So I looked from that lens, searched on Google Ashish Kashyap's email, who's the CEO of R&D Money, and then figured out some permutation combination, tried 5-6 random emails, one click, got response also, and the response was positive. Somehow the deal couldn't materialize, but then I realized that directly reaching out to founder is not helping. There has to be some other platform, and then I stumbled upon you guys, and rest is history.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of Invest with Dexter. This has been Dexter's initiative to bring forth more and more stories of angels who started angel investing and now have been exploring this sector more and more along with their usual asset classes. To quickly give you a brief, Dexter has been at the forefront of startup investing at early stages for the past 3 years. Over this period, we've developed a portfolio of 30 plus companies across diverse sectors, including consumer healthcare, B2B SaaS, fintech, and AID tech. Right. With this initiative, as I said, I'm bringing forth more and more stories to encourage more and more people to join this asset class and start exploring this. So, without further ado, I'm most excited to welcome my guest, Mona, today for our chat. In my previous chat, I had already mentioned there are very few women who have started exploring this chatting and this asset class, and I would like Mona to throw some light and share her experience so that we can encourage more women to join this asset class of investing. So, hey, hi, Mona, how are you?
Hey, hi, Ankit. Good to be here. Super excited for this.
Great. So, for the benefit of the viewers, Mona, I would like to request you to introduce yourself and speak a little about what you do.
Sure. So I'm an engineering leader at Amazon, stock market investor, angel investor, and all thanks to you guys, I became angel investor. Then somewhere in part time, I'm also trying to understand in my free time how the businesses work. So you can tag me as business analyst also. Little bits and pieces of video editing, influencing. A little bit background about me. So I'm an army kid. And the great part about Army Kid is that you get supremely adaptive to any new circumstances. And that's the trait which has helped me in my career and somewhere in my investing style also, which we'll talk about later. Um, Formative year, I was in small town in Gwalior, Madhya Pradesh. Passed my BTech in 2016, joined Amazon as ST1 in 2017, jumped up the corporate ladder, and right now I lead two critical seller business verticals. One is seller registration platform, where we enabled 2.1 million sellers across tier 2, tier 3 cities. And then I also take care of service provider network, which is a global platform across 20 plus marketplaces where sellers and third party service providers interact to help sellers succeed on Amazon. So in short, all I can say that during my past couple of years in this industry that the scale and the non-linear nature of technology is totally mind-boggling. And I draw a lot of inspiration, attention from these things which I've learned over past couple of years and utilize the same strategy in my investing. A quick disclaimer before we go deeper, whatever I'm going to present, this is my personal view. It has nothing to do with Amazon. Yeah, I just wanted to get that out here.
Great, great. So, thanks, Mona. Puts a lot of perspective for us also to build upon our conversation. So, you've been at the forefront of multiple things, Mona. You've been investing across asset classes. I've seen on LinkedIn you conduct multiple, classes on financial wellness and more women-focused events, right? So help us understand a little on, what really, well, you mentioned about the technological upheaval which is happening across India and, the kind of scale and the kind of impact which Amazon is also creating and even otherwise the industry, Indian industry is seeing across e-commerce and other verticals. Would like to understand from you what was your real, pick into getting into angel investing and how your investing journey began.
Yeah. As I told in my introduction, I'm not that old. So I started just 2 years back. It's a funny story. So Nika IPO was around the corner in Q3 21. And, there was big buzz around it. First tech platform, making it big, somewhere around $7 billion valuation. Then, like a typical retail investor, I applied for its IPO, didn't get it. And then I saw it was like 80% listing gain. So within one night, people who were lucky enough to get that IPO, they were like 80%, sitting on 80% more, profits. Then I dig deeper. I realized I came across this news. Alia Bhatt and Katrina Kaif, they just got 10x returns within a couple of months. So Alia invested around 4.6 crore in July 21, and by the time the IPO came around Q3 21, that 5 crore amount was around 54 crore. So 10x return in, imagine, in just 3-4 months. So I was like, I had to get into this. By the time the IPO comes and by the time retail investors like us invest in stock market, the upside is already captured by some privileged people. So I wanted to get into that circle, that how, basically I was looking a way to access or democratize, get into the circle via some democratization. So I reached out on to people on LinkedIn, cold emailed hundreds of founders because I didn't know at all about startup ecosystem, because I'm professional coming from software industry, no idea about how these things operate. So just randomly I tried messaging founders. Some of them replied also. For example, like IND Money was an app back in 2021 I was using, and I was actually promoting it, creating accounts for my parents, for my friends, suggesting that, hey, why don't you start investing in US stock market via this? Then I realized, if I love this product so much, why can't I invest in it? So I looked from that lens, search on Google Ashish Kashyap's email, who is the CEO of IND Money, and then figured out some permutation combination, tried 5-6 random emails, one click, got response also, and the response was positive. Somehow the deal couldn't materialize, but then I realized that directly reaching out to founder is not helping. There has to be some other platform, and then I stumbled upon you guys and rest is history. So I think you guys were godsend angel. I told you jokingly on that day as well that for people like us, right, you have no idea about how to navigate this field. You guys are doing tremendous job. So to sum it up, all started with three things. My angel investing journey. One, I wanted to capture disproportionate upside before the stock hits stock market. Second, I wanted to participate in India's growth story way earlier, contribute my fair share of it. And third, just sheer curiosity and willingness to set a reference point for young girls out there or young professionals out there who are salaried employees who don't have any other context or resources or time or energy to just invest in these type of instruments and make big money out of it. So I wanted to set a reference point for such people that yes, you can break into these male veteran people with big money dominated, industry with right knowledge and right grit. So that's what all got me into angel investing.
That brings me, Mona, to the similar thought or ethos we've been witnessing. So, angel investing is not something which is new, right? Commit the past, if you see the past 10, 15 years history, startups were there, investing at early stage was happening, but it was always for the, as you mentioned, it was for the privileged class, it was the big boys club, it would happen, behind the closed doors. But commit COVID or maybe a year or two back, right, things started democratizing, things started coming out in the open, there were tools, there were platforms, and with the right sort of information insemination distribution plus the right sort of guidelines, there came avenues for people, retail investors to take a bite into this market, of course, with the perception, with the clear idea from your fund manager that this is by far, as you mentioned, while it has, the tag of disproportionate returns and the highest returns across any asset class for that matter, it also comes with the tagline of being by far the most highest risk as well as most illiquid asset class, right? Today, if we invest across any other vertical for that matter, you do enjoy your entry and exit at any point of time. This doesn't happen here, right? But also, it has its own merrymaking of giving you those disproportionate returns and the celebrity like returns you mentioned about Nike and multiple other IPO stories for that matter, which have unfolded and which are likely to unfold in the future as well. So, what better to start when the founder has just about, started dreaming about the company and put things into paper and pen, right? So yeah, with that, let's move towards a little more concentrated discussion on investing. So help us understand what sectors have you been looking at, since you have a public market lens as well, and plus you are into startup investing. So I'll focus more on the startup investing and would like to understand what sectors have you been looking at and what's been your take so far.
Got it. So, I am a big fan of Warren Buffett. I keep listening to his talks, his con calls and all. So there is this concept of circle of competence, where you play around those sectors, those areas, those problem statement you big bet on, where you know things in and out. So great part of being an engineering leader at top Amazon, like top company across India, and self-proclaimed business analyst. So I know basically I am plugged in automatically, not by choice, but to excel in my career. What's going new out there. What is the new technology coming? How platforms are built? How platforms develop moat over time? And which companies make it big, which does not. So somewhere moat is something which I look for, and sticking to my circle of competence. So fintech is an area where I believe that I am really good at. Even in the stock markets, like few of the things like Bajaj Finance, I was very bullish on it back in 2017 when there were a lot of doubts how the fintech industry will play out in India, and it is one of the multi-bagger in my stock market portfolio. So fintech is one industry. Then second is like we always want to invest in sunrise industries. One key trend which I am observing is government's focus in Made in India initiative, manufacturing in India. There are a lot of PLI schemes which are rolled out, and we tend to underestimate the power of these things, right? So basis my historical analysis, I have seen, right, the Rajiv Gandhi government in back in 90s pushed for digitalization, IT, right? Infosys and HCL bloomed around that time. When Indira Gandhi government pushed for car creation in India, like native car. Maruti Suzuki was the first one to, come up with that 800 model. And it got super successful. It got lead because of the government push. And then back in 2017, this UPI pushed by Modi's government, right? Then the system actually leapfrogged. So funny story, like we were last year in France, and we are so used to UPI, online payments, and all, and it was like a lot of elite places there. People were not even aware what is online payment. They were saying that we only want cash. Then I realized, contrary to our belief that European governments or European countries are way developed, but if you look at their tech understanding, their digital infrastructure, they are way behind us. So to sum it up, you want to keep a track on sunrise sectors where government is giving that extra push. And then third is like a typical investor, you want to allocate some portion towards defensive sector. So I believe like consumer brands have been here from past 100 years, and they will be here 100 years down the line. So in consumer brands, I was reading about Mensa brands, which was the fastest growing unicorn in 2021. And then I realized that their business model is very simple. They pick up small brands, maybe doing some 100 crores, or I don't know the exact number, but they pick up small brands, acquire them, and then make it big. So I was like, even if the risk is minimal here, even if the brand is good enough, then it will definitely be acquired by someone if it does not reach in the IPO stage. So that was my initial thought process with investing in the consumer brands. So three areas: one, fintech; second, sunrise sectors like manufacturing, electronics; and third, consumer brands. In sunrise sector, I also want to couple, right, defensive bets, right? You are hearing so much about drones, aerospace, and then Chandrayaan and all. So all those things I am trying to wrap my head around. Not a very concrete thing has come out from that sector, but that is an area I am actively working on.
Understood. Great. Okay. Now let's speak on your experience in terms of angel investing. So help us understand, how many investments made, what have been your learnings with, good success stories. You could be, I mean, since it's a shorter period of time, you can, speak about the goods and maybe a few trends which went otherwise from what was expected, right? So help us understand that from your investing journey.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, see, it's I look at my investment not in isolation, like angel investing, not in isolation to my other investment instruments, right? And second, I think angel investing is like, fixed. Let's say, for example, I have this notion that I'll invest in, let's say, 30 companies in next 5 years. So I have fixed slots available for each new company I am coming through. And whether I have to then think it thoroughly, whether it is better than my existing portfolio, and it is going to be something which I would be deeply, deeply caring over the next 2-3 years. So I have not invested very much into, companies. You were telling me the stories about people investing one startup on a weekly basis. That's totally not my cup of tea. Wherever I'm putting money, I should have strong conviction. So till now, I have invested only in 4-5 companies, but rest assured, I have evaluated around 200 plus companies. So that's the thing in terms of success stories and all. I cannot, since we started just 2 years back, so there are like, an angel investing takes time to become fruitful. So we'll watch out for success stories. But I just want to plug in one thing, that we have to look at success not just underpinned on monetary benefits. What gives me immense joy is that I see founders working so hard, so passionate, so driven about the problem statement or the solution they're driving. And that actually inspires me that somewhere down the line, I was an enabler, or I was the key part of their success story. So this also motivates me. For example, have you seen the LinkedIn post of this tech founder, Anish Basu? There are stories around where he says it looks like he breathes tags. He was jokingly saying that once he was asked to introduce himself, he just went ahead and said that I'm Tags Basu. So that's the passion he carries. Now I don't know whether he'll succeed or not. Nobody can say for surety. But I want to be part of their journey, right? So this is one thing I want to highlight. Similarly, like Bank Sati, this is one other startup I have invested in. There, this is this founder called Jitendra Dhaka. He has come from tier 2 city, okay, where there is not even education. Forget about, entrepreneurship and all those things. And then he made it big into finance. So his company Bank Sati is basically democratizing the finance for remote lands of India, like villages and all. And they have become right now the third largest credit card distributor across India. So those are the things, those are the journeys, those are the companies I am passionate about, and I feel that they will become big. Let's see, time will tell.
Got it. In terms of now shifting focus, while just touching upon that point, where you were mentioning about people doing one a week. So I think even their journey, while you started 2 years back, even their journey probably would have started 5, 6, 7 years back, and they have that comfort around or the deal flow around, evaluating and taking those calls, which I think it's to each his own. And the whole idea of diversifying to the core and seeing some success stories is what comes into the play here for those people who are really taking that forward the way they are, right? So
Just to double click on that point, right? As you said, each one is on its own,
mm,
right? For example, there are people who have big tons of money they can invest.
of course.
Somewhere with constraints, you
Mm,
try to innovate more. So when
that's
you
true.
have
That's true.
limited amount of money,
Mm,
you put so much thought in and high conviction into the ideas which you are investing in. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Both the names you mentioned are actually really good companies, so I'll definitely go by the conviction you're really talking about, so I get the sense around that. Now help me understand a little on your, since you've been a part of the Dexter network for some time now, help me understand your experience, and you've been evaluating these around uh, for the past 2 years, thinking and, deep diving into your sectors of interest and other things. So channels have been multiple. You have been evaluating opportunities as well as platforms for that matter. So much so that, you've in the starting, you've reached out to founders as well. So would like to understand your, real experience with Dexter. How has it been? What has been, good? And please feel free to talk bad about us as well. I'm absolutely fine to take that feedback and build upon, right? So would love to understand that.
Yeah, as I touched based earlier as well, you guys are like godsend investor angel for us. You have democratized, the access to great companies for professionals, young professionals, people who are traditionally not that much plugged in into this entire ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Second, what I really love about you guys are like you guys are so patient with investors. I remember asking so stupid question, what is captable? What is scary and such things, right? But you guys were so patient, be it Tushar, be it you. I remember there was this tech secondary round where like investors themselves were exchanging
Mm-hmm.
these shares or but I was not even aware of that concept, and I wrote a strong email. Hey, I invested in this company. Now this secondary deal is happening with slightly lesser valuation. What happened? Then
Mm-hmm.
Tushar actually wrote a very big email, explained me the entire concept, how it works, and then if you still have doubts, you can always reach out to me. So I really want to highlight that the amount of patience you have with investors is really really incredible. And third thing I really love is, um, your due diligence, not only during the deal, getting the money on the table, but post deal. I've seen multiple, performance emails coming that this is the company you invested in. This is how they are doing so far. I have been part of one other angel investing group, but I've not seen that much due diligence. So there is where, like, I think I realized that from first hand my experience, I can say you guys are shining out there because the due diligence you do during getting the best deal for your investors. Second, post deal, how you engage with the community, that also matters. And community engagement is amazing. Every if not in a week, And every bi-weekly there are few calls happening, people are interacting there, we are very active on WhatsApp groups as well. A lot to learn from the community itself, which you have, built, put together. So all these things I really love about Dexter. One, not sort of um, negative feedback, but area of growth would be, and to be very honest and candid here, I think you guys are doing tremendous job, but maybe because of the nature or my ignorance here in this particular industry, you guys can actually templatize and bring more tech enabled platforms which will help you scale faster.
Mm.
There is a little bit more manual portions involved,
Correct.
but I know that are needed for the nuances of this industry where you have to have personal touch with the investors. But maybe think about how you can bring more and more tech into the system for you guys to build operating leverage.
I'll reach out to you. I would like probably like your advice on how we can do it. Because while I have been thinking of making my life easy, and it would have, and the team members as well, still haven't been able to, leverage tech to operationalize what parts, have remained manual intensive. See, of course, as your
Mm,
fund manager, or any other LP's fund manager, human
mm,
will remain human, right? So that, that call which you make at, not you, I mean, I'm generally saying at 10:30 p.m., when you see maybe the numbers going down, or maybe, why is this going this way, and
mm,
maybe a 10:30 call, yeah, what's my portfolio looking like, that will, continue to remain the way it has in terms of being a humanized thing, right? Even if you see a dashboard around it, you would want, somebody to be on the other side of the call to really answer your questions. And you rightly mentioned one trait about us being patient. So yeah, that has come with time, that has come with thousands of calls we, attended, answered to, and seen the same traits, right? While you start, you have your apprehensions around this, and once you become comfortable, you're able to answer your questions, most of them, right, yourself. So yeah, tech part, feedback well taken, definitely want to build upon it. Let's see how soon we can do it. But yeah, thank you so much for that. uh Great. So, one last question before we move on to my final and very exciting segment, which at least I'm proclaiming it to be exciting. I'll take your feedback on that later. But yeah, see, as we started and building upon this conversation, you have been at the forefront of multiple initiatives, driving, experimenting, hustling around and everything. Right? There are a whole lot of people, men, women, even more, specifically, who may have started wanting to explore this asset class, but the numbers are still very low, right? India, for that matter, is actually very low on the angel investing count, while being the third largest startup economy in the world after US and China. So, help us understand your, your perspective, or your, guidance to these people who want to start exploring startup investing. How should they? What should be their idea? And what can be done to start this, right? So would like to understand your perspective to encourage more people around this.
Yeah, I think it's like the job of the community which you guys are building. But to be very honest and candid here, right? Everybody is figuring it out. Nobody has figured it out all. And whosoever is claiming this, that, they are the gurus of angel investing, they are lying outright. Simply because this is something which you cannot master upon, but you build on your experiences. So, my first advice would be start small, but at least start somewhere. Be part of some angel investing network and pick up at least one company and invest in that. There are two possibilities. One, either that money will become big, you will get excited and you will anyway get deeper into this field, or the money, let's say, becomes zero. Then you will learn more that what went wrong, or how you can extrapolate, understand, backtrack, and connect the dots now, that what not to repeat going forward. So first advice would be start somewhere, whatever it takes. Second, read, research a lot. As I was telling, right, I actually go through con calls, investor presentations, at least for 4 or 5 companies in a week. that is helping me build more context around, how to identify the mode there, how to identify the unique proposition in the companies you are investing in, all those things. So second is read, research a lot. And third, for you guys also, somewhere like we also have to do a great job here, set more references, talk more about it, maybe on LinkedIn, on other platforms, or wherever we can reach out to people. So because once people see that if this girl can, while managing her 9 to 5 job, can do this, then why can't I do this? So having more reference points or right representation for the people would definitely help. Yeah.
Great, great. Thanks, Mona. Thanks for putting a lot of perspective. And yeah, I hope with this conversation, more and more women come to the forefront and even otherwise. Uh, Thanks for that. So as I said, I'll move on to the last segment, which is more of a segment I picked up from a Bollywood show. I don't have hampers to offer to you, or I don't have anything else otherwise. And my, larger hamper would be if I can, make returns on a portfolio you've made with us. So I'll jump onto the rapid fire round, right? Not naming the celebrity show because copyright infringement or something for that. So yeah, uh, I'll begin the rapid fire. So three things you want to look at when you want to invest in a company.
Okay, again, repeating the disclaimer. It's a rapid fire, so I cannot be, very vocal out here. Okay, so I'll keep it short. Founders' grit or passion, icing on the cake, if they're coming from not so privileged background and still having that hunger to grow big. Second, non-linearity of the solution, they are providing. There is this Delta 4 Kunal Shah theory. People interested who are maybe listening to this podcast in future, they can just Google it. If there is some proposition I come across which I believe is sort of a Delta 4 kind of business model, I'll definitely go for it. And third, pedigree of existing investor. As I said, I have limited time, 9 to 5 job also I have to manage. So then I don't have the time or a slightly, I would say, skill also to judge our company in the right manner. So I go via the pedigree of existing investors and try to, build on their conviction. So yeah.
Got it. Understood. Three things you want to consider as a pure red flag when you decide not to invest.
Red flag is a very strong statement. Whosoever is giving up their career and taking something big risk. So I want to respect that. So maybe somewhere like some things I look out for which might exist as things which I don't want to go with. For example, if the founder is confused, not able to even articulate the problem statement, his or her vision, in a very clear manner. Second, very big risk is compliance or / fraud. I typically Google everything. So there, and then too much dependence on cash burning where there is no path to profitability.
Got it. My next question is three sectors which you look at for the future, the next 10 years. And everybody talks about India being the superpower in the decade belongs to India. So what are those three sectors you would want to take a bet on?
Yeah. There is this goal, right? By 2027, I guess we have to become 5 trillion economy. So if India has to double its economy in next couple of years, then there would be definitely certain sectors which will play a huge role. And one is, again, going back to my original point, sunrise sectors like defense, space, air, navy, and all. Second is fintech. India is a big country, and until and unless the fintech is democratized, each and one has to participate in this growth, and fintech will play a huge role. And third, as the per capita income of Indians will increase with the increased increment in the GDP, people will invest more and more in consumer luxury brands or simply like consumables brands. So these are the three areas.
Got it. Understood. Next set of questions are this or that. So
I
founders,
hope till now it wasn't boring.
no, it's never boring.
I know finance is a dry subject, but
And
let's.
conversations make it interesting, I think, rather than textbook knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So quickly on the this or that segment, founders with strong institutional background or founders with strong operating experience.
Yeah. So there is this saying in army, the more you sweat in practice, less you bleed in war.
Mhm.
Uh, Tying it back, people with strong operating experience, that is one thing I prefer. Let me
Okay.
flip. What do you prefer?
I would rather prefer a combination of both, but yeah, the second is obviously more preferable.
Got it. Yeah.
So uh, great. First time मुझे मेरे podcast पे somebody's asked me a question. So yeah, thank you so
Hey,
much.
you are also a great investor. The amount of insight I get from you is like totally different. So that's where I think I should do one podcast with you.
Most happy to do it. Right? Great. Uh, Large market with several VC funded players or a white space or a gray space market.
I believe totally the large market, because if the opportunity or the size of the pie is not big enough, it would always be overcrowded, no matter how much great you are.
Okay. Three options here: startup which is profitable from day one, startup with profitability in the foreseeable future, startup which is hyper growth focused. Profitability comes when it comes.
What are the three things? Foreseeable future profitability.
Startup with profitability from day one, which is unit economics positive day one itself, right? Startups with profitability in the foreseeable future, say about a couple of years from now. Third, startup which is hyper growth focus, which is all focus on growth, 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 growth. Unit economics becomes positive when it becomes.
It's a very tricky question. I have seen examples of companies becoming big across all three dimensions.
Mm,
Hyper focused growth, generally people tend to stay away from such companies. But Amazon is biggest example. They have not been profitable for considerable amount of time, but then you have to learn that where they are doing the capital allocation. So I'll keep it short. Not a I cannot pick one. I think all three we have to look at in conjunctions with other factors like founders, problem statement, all those things. And these three factors, I think all three have success stories in each of these criteria. So can't be the deciding factor.
okay. My final question: pre-seed, seed startup with a lucrative valuation, or startup at a slightly mature PMF achieved stage, but comes at a higher premium valuation for that matter.
Whatever gives me a multi bag. But
Still,
I can take both.
got it. Thanks, Mona. Brings us to the end of this conversation. Thank you so much for giving us your time. I hope people watch this, get a lot of learnings from you, come back to you, asking you for more advice, and they start their journey and continue to build upon that. So great speaking with you, great getting your perspective.